Hello and welcome to another episode of the Menswear Style Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Brooker, and today on the show, I am talking to the co-founder of HyperNatural, Chris Kolbe, and a little bit about HyperNatural. They pioneer the future of high-quality eco-luxury products made with innovative materials of nature, renewable and biodegradable sources. HyperNatural has always been inspired by the genius of nature and combining natural solutions with modern luxury and sustainability. They know the future of fashion and materials is not in polyester or petrochemicals, it is in nature. And here to talk more about HyperNatural is the co-founder, Chris Kolbe.
Sure. So, HyperNatural is this new brand that is actually launching in about 2 weeks. So we're brand new, but it's really what we think is the future of apparel, which is this is eco luxury, and we've really kind of created a proprietary fabric that's become a brand, and it really combines natural solutions with modern luxury and sustainability. And that combination we feel is where the world needs to go. And we've been able to over a number of years develop this special fabric that we think really shows the genius of nature.
Great. I'm very eager to drill down on the fabric, but so this is launching on March the 3rd as we speak, and people can check it out on the website hypernaturalstyle.com. But perhaps you can talk about, I know you self-funded this with your co-founder. Why was it that you decided to not seek outside investment for this brand?
Well, I've been in the industry for over 30 some years and been in retail, been in product, worked for big brands like Ralph Lauren and Urban Outfitters, but I've also started brands like Original Penguin. And so just been in the industry for a long time and sort of really wanted to do something for myself. And in some ways, things that I know our industry really needs. And so it's a little bit of my form of repentance, I guess, of coming back with a really sustainable product that can really change our industry, maybe inspire industry. And I really wanted to self-fund it mainly because this allows us to have control to do it the right way. And so, just having the experience of done this for other big companies, just, the pitfalls of having too many people involved too soon, we're trying to avoid.
Right. And I guess this gives you and your co-founder autonomy over the brand. Have you seen it go wrong somewhere else? I mean, I don't want you to name and shame, but other companies and other brands that you might have looked at where they've had investment to start out with and it just hasn't panned out well for them?
Yeah, well, I think the more money you have behind you, the more pressure there is to grow and to grow maybe unsustainably. And so what we really want to do is kind of set the business up and the brand to grow naturally in terms of what it can be. And then as we see opportunity, potentially bring more partners in, but really, with the right expectations.
Right. And whilst you were working for other companies, did you always have it in mind to start something else? Did you always have like a little thought bubble that, I could do this over here and I can do it slightly differently?
Yeah, I spent 30 years more or less doing that, just starting businesses and
being constantly distracted.
Well, I've always had a lot of ideas, a lot of visions, and I've had other bigger companies to bring it to life with and for their benefit. But I've always felt I could do it for myself. And so just kind of waited for the right moment. And this became it in terms of starting something I really feel the industry and the world really needs right now. And I'm just able to use all my experience from the past and my network to really, do something I think that can have a lot of impact.
Right. And what would you say it is specifically from any of your other jobs that you managed to go, right, I can take that and plug it in to HyperNatural?
Well, what I've learned is it's really easy to try to do too much. And so the biggest thing experience has taught me in the past is really how to simplify and really get down to the essence of what matters most. And I think that's the nature of our industry started to reward more and more people with a really strong point of view. They have an innovative product. They do, one thing incredibly well versus trying to do everything. And I think I've worked for a lot of places and been guilty of it myself of just trying to do too much. And so, years ago, I read Yvon Chouinard's book, Let My People Go Surfing. And one of my favorite quotes from Yvon was, the more you know, the less you need. And I really do think that applies a lot to our industry. And so, with HyperNatural, we're taking the approach of, let's be less wasteful in our approach. Like, let's just make the things that we think matter, not a whole bunch of other filler type of product. Let's have more quality and maybe less quantity, right? And let's tell stories that make people inspired to want to go further and do more with what we're doing, versus try to trick people into buying things that maybe they don't need, right? And so I think these are the things that I hope experiences taught me that we can bring into a new brand day one, in some ways that we've just learned from all these other great brands over the last 3 or 4 decades.
Interesting. I was actually just scribbling the title of that book, like Scaramanga would do, getting a wine recommendation from Bond. Let the people go surfing. I must add that to my Audible list. Thanks.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I'll check that out for sure. Well, I agree. I looked at the press pack that you guys sent over, and I often see brands that start off launching with a whole load of products because they perhaps don't know how to rein it in, or they just want to overreach and tick all the boxes straight away rather than get one thing right and then build from there. And I'm always on your side of the fence, Chris, with this, in terms of if you can get one thing right and then learn how to expand on that rather than just throw spaghetti at the wall, hope something lands and then just go back and latch onto that, because it just feels like there's a lot of waste that's sliding down the kitchen tiles outside of that.
Yes.
But maybe you can talk about the fabric. I'm keen to get into that. So this took about 2 years worth of research and development. So talk about that journey, please.
Sure. So, we really started out during COVID, having a little bit of time to sort of think about, if we were to make the best of something, what would that be? And we did a little bit of research, my partner and I, and, we kind of come from the world of Ralph Lauren and J. Crew, and we worked, we started this brand Original Penguin about 20 years ago. And so we knew a lot about polo shirts, and we knew a lot of that, everybody wears them.
Did you start Original Penguin? Sorry to run over you, Chris. Did you start that?
I did. Yeah.
Noted that. I mean, that is one of, again, sorry to shine the light on your competitor, but I love that brand. I got loads of the polos. So sorry, carry on.
No, yeah. So, we knew, my partner and I, we just know polos, but we also, because everybody owns them, they're kind of ubiquitous, and there's this kind of thing that people almost don't really put a lot of effort into, but it's like a $4.5 billion business globally, just polo shirts. And they've been wearing them, forever. If you think about like the history of the shirt. And so we just thought, like, if we made it really the best one, what would we do? And we kind of came down to, it would be about the materials and really coming up with this material, but it would have to be sustainable. And the more we dug into it, we got really obsessed with the potential of nature and what nature can actually do to create performance in materials. And we started this journey, and it took a while, but we realized there's stuff we could do that would touch your skin. It would actually feel a certain way, or it have like a potential wellness benefit for you. And it led us down this path of, okay, to make something really commercially viable, but also sustainable and awesome, we'd have to really put some things together that don't exist today. And then we landed on, let's just take the best cotton in the world, which is Supima cotton. It's the top 1% of cotton in the world. And let's blend it with regenerative materials or waste materials to try to create something that, let's call it a cocktail that doesn't exist. And so we end up coming down to, we took jade stone from mining waste in Taiwan, and we combined that with chitin, which is crab shells pulverized down into a powder. And we put it into this brew, and we created a yarn that actually has these proprietary benefits of cooling your skin, which is the jade stone, naturally. And the chitin is anti-odor. And so you can really get this like cooling anti-odor effect from what is effectively mining waste and food waste. And so we combine that yarn with Supima cotton, which is super soft and luxurious and strong, and we added in 100% recycled spandex, and we got this like super knit that has this really cool touch, naturally performing thing, and it, best of all, has no polyester, has no petrochemicals, which is mostly what performance is today. It's mostly synthetic materials coated in chemicals,
Right.
or it's just a regular cotton shirt that doesn't really do anything. And so we've kind of created this in between with HyperNatural that it brings natural performance and luxury together into one fabrication.
How do you know to go about finding jade stone and the shells of the crabs? How do you know that this fusion is going to come anywhere close to what it is that you want to get out at the end?
Well, in our journey, we realized that there's kind of almost a bio materials revolution going on right now. And a lot of it's in laboratories and things that you just don't see. But there's a lot of really interesting work going on that are putting things together that are more sustainable but natural, or more sustainable without using synthetic chemicals and materials. And ultimately, it's about having something that is more natural, more biodegradable, but also, it's better. It can be a better product. And most people don't think of sustainable products as being better or awesome.
Mm.
And we wanted to kind of flip that on the head, is that we actually made it better through nature. And so we think about it as nature can do a lot of amazing things if you work with it. And I think that's kind of the ethos for HyperNatural. It's the only thing we do. And it led to this fabric development that really just gives people what they want, keeps them cool. You don't have any odor. It's super soft and comfortable and luxurious, but it also happens to be sustainable.
And do you have to patent that fabric, or can you patent that?
We have proprietary rights to it. No one else can do it at the moment, technically. And one of our partners is the mill that has actually helped us develop the fiber. So we're locked in on that level. But we can patent it, but it just takes time. It's right. One of those. It's like a 3-year process.
And a process that basically is a lot of red tape and lawyers, I imagine. There's nothing sexy about that process.
Well, the more important thing is getting into the market and developing it into something that is commercially viable, that people want. And that will allow us to really, brand it and build it into other things. We have a number of other things we're looking to do along these lines of just taking natural materials and creating yarns that don't exist today, and they can do potentially some very interesting things.
Well, for people that might be watching us on the YouTube channel, I'm just bringing up a couple of slides to give some context to what Chris is talking about here, some of the polos. Chris, can I ask, we talked about the fabric. Did you do anything different for the cut of the polos with regards to these designs?
Our general approach is, in the spirit of simplicity, is we created 4 styles. 2 of them are a classic fit and 2 of them are a slim fit. We have 2 fabrics, 1 piqué, 1 jersey, and 1 fabric story. So the fabric story is the same for everything we make. And so it kind of comes down to, we can fit a lot of people on different size and fit preference, even style preference, so that we can fit a wide range of people, all with the same, natural performance fabric story. And that's where it's an inclusive brand. But at the same time, if you really look at our shirts, we put a lot of detail into them that you wouldn't normally expect in a polo shirt. So if you were to flip it inside out, you'd see there's a glass cleaning pocket on the inside. You'd also notice that there's no labels, there's no tags at all in the garment. The trims we use are all natural. So there's no plastic whatsoever used on the product. The buttons are mother of pearl, which, also natural. The packaging's all natural. Or recyclable materials. So a lot of the devil's in the details. And so we kind of tell people that the polo shirts are Trojan horse. You're getting a lot more than you might expect.
So Chris, You say there's a pocket on the inside and you can wipe the glass. Now, I'm imagining my girlfriend's lipstick on my coffee mugs that are just ubiquitous in my house. Is it that? Can I use that? Or is it just not going to be too hot? Is it going to be too overkill for that?
Yeah, it's you were just, there's a little triangle when you flip up the front hem, and inside there you just slip your glass in there and just give it a quick clean. So just a, a little thing that you might discover after you've bought it.
Love it.
There's a little QR code in there that we'll use to explain, let you know a little more online. But these are just they're just little details just to let you know that we put a lot of thought and care into this garment beyond the sustainable fabric.
I love that. I used to run an independent fashion shop just outside of Cambridgeshire, and I'd always plug this brand. I'm going back about 20 years, so forgive me, the name of the brands escaped me. But what I really loved about their particular T-shirts was that you could tell the consumer or the customers, you'd flip up the hem and there would be the story of the brand. Like on the inside, it would just be mapped out, and it would just be so cool. I imagine it must have cost them an unnecessary penny to get to that stage. But as soon as people saw that, they would actually buy it because they knew also it would be a personal garment for them that nobody else had. But when they're in the pubs, they could also lift up the shirt, and if they got a six pack or a cool tattoo, it'd be like, I have a tattoo as well. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, now it's a QR code. So
now it's just get your phone and scan me. I love it. Great. Well, I'm also talking about like the narrative of the brand. Do you have to go down to the retailers? I know you're going to be in Nordstrom and Fred Seagal amongst a few others. Do you have to go down and kind of school the reps down there on how to sell HyperNatural and what the fabric is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we want everybody to understand like what's really different about it, and so beyond the sustainability, that there's a lot of benefits in there for the customer. There's a lot of things to be excited about. Most men want to stay cool, and they don't want to smell, right? Everybody can generally agree those are good things. And so how do you get the people to experience the product? How do you get people to talk about the story of like, what jade stone and crab shells can do for you? And that the fact that half this garment comes from effectively waste that's been regenerated into a luxury product. That story is, has to be passed often from person to person. And so we're just trying to get people to be able to share that story in the context of the product, often in the store. We also, we tell people like they'll ask like, well, what's with the bird, on the shirt, like, and it's the whole idea is that the magpie is kind of, it's not a logo. We kind of consider a totem, and it's like our spirit animal. And magpies, as you might know, are one of the most intelligent creatures in the natural world. A flock of magpies is called a mischief. There's this really interesting, totem of nature that really is the genius of nature. And so we want to bring more attention to that idea of the genius of nature and working with nature. And so we chose the magpie for that reason, but it's also a little bit of a disruptive bird. It likes to cause a little trouble. And so we kind of see ourselves in the fashion industry doing that as well, because the industry does need to wake up and it does need to get motivated. And ultimately, we want people to buy sustainable products because they're awesome and innovative, not just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, magpies can come in through the window and nick off with your silver bracelet if you're not looking, right? So do magpies dress up their nests to lure other prospective suitors? Is that why they're doing it? Like picking up bits of tinfoil? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, no, they're notorious for doing a lot of things, but they're the cheeky birds. But they do things like they have funerals for their deceased. They do these things that are unexpectedly cool, and I think that's where we're coming from is, don't sleep on nature. Nature can do a lot more if you work with it.
Yeah, I didn't know they did funerals. How does that work?
I don't know. You have to watch these documentaries. I'm not a bird expert, but I will tell you that this whole brand started with just the awe of what is possible if we just open our eyes.
Love that. Well, I love the brand as well, and I encourage everybody to check it out. It's HyperNatural Style. That's the website. Chris, are you behind the Instagram channel and the social channels? If people drop you a note, will you be behind that?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's just a few of us here. So if you reach out to us, you'll probably get one of us.
Great. Awesome. And we'll leave all the show notes over at menswearstyle.co.uk. But Chris, in the meantime, really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for jumping on, and best of luck with the brand.
Appreciate the time, Peter.
Great. I meant to say Jade Stone and the Crab Shells sounds like a great artist that Phil Spector would have produced back in the 60s.
Yeah, it's got a
on
little
Decca Records.
For sure, yeah. Like it's like some like witch's brew, right?
You've been listening to the Menswear Style Podcast. Be sure to head over to menswearstyle.co.uk for more menswear content, and email info@menswearstyle.co.uk if you would like to be a future guest on the show. Finally, please help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Until next time.